Ilstead Museum in Farmington is an important cultural and recreational resource within easy reach of all the cities and towns in central Connecticut. Ilstead Museum is a place where art and nature flourish together, just as the family that designed this estate intended. Ilstead is a colonial revival house built at the turn of the 20th century and maintained just as it was when the family that built it lived here. Ilstead is their outstanding art collection. Ilstead is 150 acres of fields, trails, and scenic views. Ilstead is May Market and other seasonal events. Ilstead is also a beautiful sunken garden, the site of the annual Sunken Garden Poetry Festival. This program and the ones that follow are an invitation to attend this summer's series of poetry and music events.
The 26th season of the Sunken Garden Poetry Festival features Irish poetry and music on opening night, Sunday, May 27th, featuring Eamon Grennan and David McLaughlin. On Wednesday, June 20th, we welcome co-headliners Margaret Gibson and Molly Brown. On Wednesday, July 11th, Ilstead Museum is pleased to present the current United States Poet Laureate, Tracy K. Smith. Opening for Tracy K. Smith is the winner of the Sunken Garden Poetry Prize, Sean Ballard. On Wednesday, July 25th, is The Poetry of Our World, featuring co-headliners Solmaz Sharif and Javier Zamora. On Sunday, August 5th, is Closing Night with Young Poets Day, featuring Andrea Gibson with Fresh Voices student competition winners. People love the informality and outdoor setting of this festival. You can bring lawn chairs or blankets, pack a picnic, or buy dinner and wine from the vendors here. There's an hour of live music first, anything from jazz to folk to classical, and then you can hear some of the best poets in the country read poetry that is relevant and accessible. One of the country's leading poetry events, the festival introduces audience to U.S. and state poets laureate, Pulitzer Prize winners, and other major American poets in the intimate, informal setting of this historic garden. The festival's ongoing popularity is evidence that poetry still holds an important place in American culture, and that poetry has a unique power to remind us of our own common humanity.
Three little birds sat at my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. Summer came like cinnamon, so sweet. Little girls double dutch on the concrete. Maybe sometimes we all get it wrong, but it's all right. The more things seem to change, the more they stay the same. Don't you hesitate. Western Gate. They say women's dreams stay indoors. These days I dream an ocean under the bed. I wake up and watch its tide. I'm myself, but also a large black bird. Like the crows near oceans, I sit up in bed I perch on the concrete sill. I'm big enough to slap pavement upon impact, take running steps to land. I shout for myself to fly, but only look back at myself. And the water rises, so the whole room smells like salted water and soaked beans. Have you ever tried to walk when the water recedes, leaving a chainmail pattern in the sand, feet sinking? Have you ever tried to walk watching the water move and fallen right into it? The sinking woman will try to make waves a column, its froth a steady handhold. I've been having a problem with my eyes. I keep thinking they'll get paper cuts. I squint and reveal floaters on every surface. I could never see past what's right in front of me and dislike the whole house if it has broken blinds. I can't ignore the shapes floating past my retina. I can't submit. I align them for inspection. The runs in my humor, clogged pipe, jellyfish, the Titanic, they grow with each pass. Look beyond them, my father would say when he'd catch me squinting into light, the other eye wide and rolling, flicking madly to catch any figure. One night, a black spider in my pillowcase. God sent me here to protect you. Okay, I said, come on in. Who are you talking to? My husband asked. I told him a spider with the most beautiful voice would be sleeping with us from now on. From time to time, I would see her outside, dangling at the window, her large abdomen gleaming. At dusk, a katydid at ear level, trilling like a transformer. Every sunset, pray, 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 in currents that grate my heart. But I can't always do it. I hide from it, from the windows. Is there a shadow in the dust? Is there some depression in the dust? Someone please track the visitant whose entrance implies a new dimension. It's as odd as a cat standing before you, watching you pray, claws at your forehead. Pouring skin temperature water over yourself, wondering, have I dressed in unseen garments? Or scripture playing to an empty room. How long will my second self jump up and go for the first exit? After a season of night terrors, leaves, feathers, lapping water, men with lights, then torsos of light, a large bird appeared on the sill. It was bigger than all the others. What do you want? Should I die so you can take this bed? It looked sad and faced westwards, eyes jaundiced. So I sat up and told it to leave. Leave. I flapped my wrists. It turned from me, facing west. A breeze lifted a collar of feathers. I was again it, myself. By then I was ready to go crazy. Lay my head on the bottom of a tub filled with my crazy. And then it flew away, and the torsos and ocean went with it, and I was myself again, and peaceful with my 3 shadows when walking in any new night. Thank you.
Please join me in extending a warm welcome to a poet, a gentleman, and a scholar, Jericho Brown.
How you doing? You sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kate. Thank you. So I'm just really happy to be a part of the show, right? I'm just glad to be a part of what seems to be a great 25-year-old show that y'all got going on here. And I'm glad to be here to celebrate this anniversary with you. I'm going to, I got here today and I started thinking about home because as soon as I got here, I saw how beautiful everything was and how the grass sort of rolls down into the garden. And what I really wanted to do, but I didn't do it because I knew everyone would think I was crazy, I really wanted to just do a tuck and roll down. I know y'all feel that way, right? You see this and you're like, there's got to be a way I can do this without anybody seeing me. So I put a reading together that is a reading that revisits my childhood ultimately. And so I want to read some of the poems that come straight out of my own childhood. And I'll start with this one because where I grew up, no matter what we were doing, we always had to start with prayer. So, prayer of the backhanded. Not the palm, not the pear tree switch, not the broomstick, nor the closest extension cord, not his braided belt, but God. Bless the back of my daddy's hand, which, holding nothing tightly against me and not wrapped in leather, eliminated the air between itself and my cheek. Make full this dimpled cheek, unworthy of its unfisted print, and forgive my forgetting the love of a hand that took no thought of its target. A hand that took no thought of its target like hail from a blind sky. Involuntary, fast, but brutal in its bruising. Father, I bear the bridge of what might have been a broken nose. I lift to you what was a busted lip. Bless the boy who believes his best beatings lack intention, the mark of the beast. Bring back to life the son who glories in the sin of immediacy, calling it love. God, save the man whose arm, like an angel's invisible wing, may fly backward in fury, whether or not his son stands near. Help me hold in place my blazing jaw as I think to say, excuse me. As a human being, there is the happiness you have and the happiness you deserve. They sit apart from one another the way you and your mother sat on opposite ends of the sofa after an ambulance came to take your father away. Some good doctor will stitch him up, and soon an aunt will arrive to drive your mother to the hospital, where she will settle next to him forever, as promised. She holds the arm of her seat as if she could fall, as if it is the only sturdy thing, and it is, since you've done what you always wanted. You fought your father and won, marred him. He'll have a scar he can see, all because of you. And your mother, the only woman you ever cried for, must tend to it as a bride tends to her vows, forsaking all others, no matter how sore the injury. No matter how sore the injury has left you, you sit understanding yourself as a human being, finally free, now that nobody's got to love you. So there's a word that many of you may not know. I always thought it was a real word, but I found out that it was a word created by the South when I moved to the West Coast, and I figured out I had an accent. I didn't know that before then. That accent isn't as present as it used to be, but if I'm angry or if I'm playing cards, you'll hear it come out. And if I'm angry while playing cards, you'll really hear it. The title of this poem is a word that means that person and everyone you associate with that person, right? And the word is nim. So some people do know, you know this word. Okay, good, I'm so happy. So nim word, look, these are like my people behind me to hold me up. Hallelujah for my people behind me to hold me up. So, if you see somebody you haven't seen in a very long time, you went to school with this person, for instance, maybe high school, and you see them in the grocery store, you would say to them, hey, how you doing? How is your mama, Nim? That's sort of how that sentence works. So I'm going to read the poem that's titled Nim. They said to say goodnight and not goodbye, unplugged the TV when it rained. They hid money in mattresses, so to sleep on decisions. Some of their children were not their children. Some of their parents had no birth dates. They could sweat a cold out of you. They'd wake without an alarm telling them to. Even the short ones reached certain shelves. Even the skinny cooked animals too quick to catch. And I don't care how ugly one of them arrived. That one got married to somebody fine. They fed families with change and wiped their kitchens clean. Then another century came. People like me forgot their names. Next poem was written after having been confused and confounded by the deaths of people like Victor White III in Louisiana and Jesus Huerta in North Carolina and Sandra Bland in Texas. And that list of people who have supposedly committed suicide while in police custody, that list goes on in ways that I didn't expect to find when I started looking this stuff up. Just to give you an example, Jesus Huerta somehow managed to shoot himself in the back of his head while he was being escorted from the police cruiser to the building where he was to be booked. While he was being escorted in handcuffs, he managed to shoot himself in the back of the head. Victor White shot himself in the back while sitting in the back of a police cruiser after having been patted down and put in the back of that police cruiser while he was handcuffed, somehow managed to shoot himself in the back. And many of us know the very sad story of Sandra Bland's death. So I'm going to read this poem that comes out of finding those things out. And y'all do everything you can, please, to remember what I tell you about myself in this poem, just in case, because it's true. Bullet points. I will not shoot myself in the head, and I will not shoot myself in the back, and I will not hang myself with a trash bag. And if I do, I promise you, I will not do it in a police car while handcuffed or in the jail cell of a town I only know the name of because I have to drive through it to get home. Yes, I may be at risk, but I promise you, I trust the maggots and the ants and the roaches who live beneath the floorboards of my house to do what they must to any carcass, more than I trust an officer of the law of the land to shut my eyes like a man of God might, or to cover me with a sheet so clean my mother could have used it to tuck me in. When I kill me, I will kill me the same way most Americans do. I promise you, cigarette smoke, or a piece of meat on which I choke, or so broke I freeze in one of these winters we keep calling worst. I promise that if you hear of me dead anywhere near a cop, then that cop killed me. He took me from us and left my body, which is, no matter what we've been taught, greater than the settlement a city can pay a mother to stop crying, and more beautiful than the brand new shiny bullet fished from the folds of my brain. Why I cannot leave you. You bring home the food. I'm your hungry man, captive damsel dragged by the hair from her favorite streetlight to the trap of your tower, hollow icebox, no magnets with things to do, no rules, it wouldn't be fair. You bring home the food, you can't read or write. I pace, check the window for my hunter. You bring home food and toss it onto the card table. My teeth barely miss my fingertips. I rip into the bag. You like to kiss me, my mouth packed with the fastest franchise you could find. Animal blood at each lip. Say carnivore, and I kiss back. I eat my meat rare. You bear your sharpest grin. Bum, I say I love. You're my place to stay. We're against the law. No one keeps me big as you. Fatten me, sweet ogre. Get me some meat. Bring home food. Feed. And I think this poem's definitely a kind of a love poem. This poem is a poem named after a song which is probably my favorite song. I'll read the note, because if I start talking, I'll just talk about this song for so long, you'll be like, why is he still talking about that song? Donny Hathaway is an album of cover songs. It includes the Leon Russell Standard Song for You. In 19, y'all like that? Yeah, isn't that a great song? I love it. I love everybody's version. There are two songs I love, everybody's version of. I don't care how bad it is, right? Lush Life, every version of Lush Life is like beautiful to hear because you hear people really trying to do their best at singing. I'm serious. Like when people sing Lush Life, you know they're going to give you everything they got. Queen Latifah has a version of Lush Life, for heaven's sake. Y'all know what I'm saying? Anyway, in 1979, Hathaway jumped from the 15th floor of the Essex House Hotel in New York City. He was 33 years old and had been intermittently hospitalized towards the end of his life. The Temptations recorded the song for their 1975 album of the same title, Song for You. And Natalie Cole recorded it on her 1999 album, Snowfall on the Sahara. So I'll read track 8, Song for You. Bread or lightning, his hand opens like the hand of God above me. His neighbors next door turn up their stereo to drown our sounds. They must get tired of him putting me out every 10 days. It's the missing money, or it's the man he caught me kissing. And it doesn't matter. I don't love him, but I do love this song, every version of it. I never knew Natalie Cole recorded one, high and helpless as the clouds her son reached for while she watched the boy drowning. Hit me with some Natalie Cole or some Donny Hathaway in his heaven of screams before he crashed into concrete. Or all 20 Temptations, the arthritic and diabetic, the cancerous and violent. I refuse to choose. Nothing hurts like old R&B. God bless the couple next door. They muffle our misery. They must sleep close on nights this cold. A woman with her man's fat hands all to herself. I pray she never has a son. Thank you.
That's funk right there. Yo, you can't lie to me, I'm a primary source. What I'm speaking about is the funk, of course. All the dope people in the place to be. Funky fresh, just to impress, ready to party. Come along over here with me. And if you dig the vibe, let me hear you scream. Now I know that you're alive with me, so let's go, let's go to a solid place with so much soul. Getting down is the only goal. Go, hitting your biz out on the dance floor, say ah, that's funk right there. That's funk right there. You say, that's funk right there. That's funk right there. You say, that's funk right there. That's funk right there. You say, that's funk right there. That's funk right there.